Chords are such an essential idea when it comes to playing awesome melodic metalcore riffs, like the ones that we all love from bands like Killswitch, Bullet, As I Lie Dying, those awesome 2000s metalcore riffs. The worst way to learn melodic chords is to memorize a bunch of different chords. You want to understand the 7 notes that are essential for writing melodic metalcore riffs and understand how those form melodic chords. And then you can just pick up the guitar and play awesome chord progressions like that. That's what we're going to talk about today. There's 5 steps to understanding melodic chords, and it's super easy. This is a very skeptical idea when it comes to a lot of my students, but it's honestly probably one of the most useful ideas when it comes to writing your own awesome riffs. All right, so the first idea that you need to understand is the metalcore scale. It's actually the Aeolian mode, or it's the natural minor scale as well, but it's based off of the root note is based off of this low string open, which is also the same as the 4th string open, and it's also the 5th fret of the 5th string. I'm in drop C tuning. This idea that we're talking about today, the way that we're going to build these melodic chords and the scale that I'm discussing with you guys today is specific for drop tuning. You can adjust it to standard tuning, but as far as like the way that we're going to build the chords today, it really doesn't work with standard tuning in the exact way that I show you. So it is essential to be in drop tuning for this idea. But as far as the metalcore scale, you can adjust that, and it can be definitely played in different tunings like standards. I always teach this scale horizontally first, and it's very easy to learn it horizontally because there's only half-step intervals. And then there's whole step intervals, but if you learn what the half-step intervals are, it's super easy. And then you get into the 3-note combinations, and you see where those are all the way on the fretboard, and then we start to get into the 2-string 3-note combinations, 6-note combinations, and we start to understand the 7 modes of music, which are so versatile. And that's where it really gets interesting, and that's how you can write so many different riffs even just with 7 notes. Most of the riffs that you hear, probably 90% of metalcore riffs, are connected to these 7 notes in this key in one way or another, and that's how you can write so many different awesome riffs, is because there's 7 modes and they are all very unique. And then once you understand these modes, you can connect them and start to get pretty creative with your riffs. Metalcore scale is like the first thing that you need to understand, but in this video I'm going to teach you some chords, and I'm going to teach you how to build chords without learning the entire scale right away. But that is something that you probably want to do, is to understand this scale from front to back, all the way on across the fretboard, and understand these modes. That's how you start to become creative with your riff writing. Step 2 is to learn and understand dyads. So dyads are essentially just 2-note chords. The power chord is a dyad, but there's also different dyads, so it's essentially just an interval. So the power chord interval right here would be, it's what is called the perfect 5th dyad, the perfect 5th interval. So if I was on the 5th fret of the A string, and I went from the 5th fret to the 12th fret, that would be a perfect 5th interval, but I could also do that by between 2 different strings and then play it as like a chord, that would be considered a power chord. And then if I'm in drop tuning as well, you may already know this, but the way that the fretboard is set up in drop tuning, you lower the lowest string 2 frets or 1 full step. So the note that is generally right here is now right here. So that means instead of playing the power chord with 2 fingers, like this, with 2 frets away, I just bar it and play with 1 finger, because this note here now is over here. So the perfect 5th is a dyad. It's an interval, but there's also 12 other ones if you consider unison, which is the same note. Let's talk about a few of these different dyads that you're going to come across that are pretty important to understand. Major seventh interval right there. We also got the minor seventh if you go 2 frets back. See how those are completely different sounding? And then we got the minor six. But this one is, we're going to use in one of our chords today over here. The minor six. And then also the perfect fifth, which we talked about. We got the diminished fifth, which right here I think is the only spot you can play it in this key. Really dissonant, kind of ugly sounding. I generally don't use a lot of diminished chords personally in my music, but you may like them. And then the perfect fourth. And then the minor, major third, and then the minor third. I love riffs that incorporate dyad. Third step is to understand your triads. There's 4 different triads. The minor, which we're gonna learn today. The major triad. The diminished triad. Actually, it's here. And then there's also an augmented triad, which we're not going to play the augmented, but we're going to play what is called the minor six. And the only difference is that it's just one note difference. Instead of a major, it's technically a minor. I'm going to show you what chords can be played in what positions in the metalcore scale, because remember, the metalcore scale, it's just one key. It's whatever your low string is tuned to. In this case, I'm in drop C tuning, so that was going to be C minor to me. So every single position based off of this low string, all of these chords that we're going to play today are based off of this low string. And the way that we're going to play them is, again, remember the power chord, we just bar these 2 notes. We're just going to bar the first and the fifth notes of that chord as like a power chord, and then we're just going to add other notes on above on the fretboard. And that's how we're going to make melodic chords. So it is essential that we're in drop tuning for these chords today. The scale on the low string is open for the first note, 2nd fret, 3rd fret, 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret, 10th fret, and then 12th fret gets us back to the octave of that open string. And if you guys don't know, essentially the fretboard's cut in 2. So once we get to this 12th fret, as far as the musical alphabet goes, there's only 12 notes. And once we get to the 12th fret, it starts all over. So you see the first dot here, that's the same as the first dot after the 12th fret. That's the same note, just an octave apart. Same with the second dot. Kind of cool to understand that. The first chord that we can play is going to be a minor, and that's based off of that open position. Second chord that we're going to play is a diminished, which is based off of the 2nd fret position. Third chord that we can play is going to be a major off the 3rd fret. Fourth chord that we can play is going to be a minor off the 5th fret, and then another minor off the 7th, and then a major off the 8th, and then a major off of the 10th, and then a minor off the 12th, which is the same as that open position minor. There's only 3 different chords that we can play as far as triads go that make sense musically in this scale: the minor, the major, and the diminished. Let's look at the minor chord first. So we can play that off of the 5th fret. That's where we're going to play it today, and we're going to build some other melodic minor chords based off of that minor chord. So again, bar the 2 notes on the 5th fret, right? The low 2 strings, 5th fret, we're barring that for power chord, and then 3 frets over on that 4th string will be on the 8th fret. I use my pinky. That's a minor triad. So let's look at major. Let's scoot over to the 10th fret, 8th fret, sorry, the 8th fret. And the only difference between the major and the minor is that instead of 3 frets over with that pinky, we're going to go 4 frets over. So the minor would be here, and then the majors just scoot that pinky over 1. Another chord that I wanted to show you guys is what is called a suspended second chord. And the only difference between the minor and the suspended second is instead of having your pinky 3 frets over, right, we're gonna be 2 frets over. I use my ring finger for this, and that's a really good transitional chord. And you can play that anywhere in any of the positions except for on the second fret position there with the diminished chord. It doesn't work. 4th step is to just take the chords that we just talked about, the minor and major more specifically, and we're going to add other notes on that are within the metalcore scale that make sense, that sound good, that turn this chord into more or less of a basic minor to a more melodic sounding chord. And you can just literally take that minor chord and just start adding notes on anywhere. And try to figure out ones that sound cool to you. I'm going to show you guys a few that I like personally. So let's look at that minor chord off of the 5th fret position, right? This one here is going to be a minor 7th add 9. So what I'm doing is I'm forming that minor chord again, and I'm taking my ring finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string, my middle finger on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. And then if I pull my ring finger off, right, off of that 7th fret there of the 3rd string, that turns it into a minor 7th add 11. Which you might remember is in the song My Curse by Killswitch Engage. The second chord that I'm going to show you is going to be based off of the 8th fret, barring the 2 notes. For the power chord like normal, it's going to be a major variation. So pinky on the 12th fret of the 4th string, and there's going to be a few different variations of this same chord. So the first one, we're just going to take our pinky on the 10th fret of the 3rd string. This is also just a major chord, but this note here is an octave of that 5th note that we're already playing. So adding in that higher octave of the 5th kind of gives it a little bit more melodic sound, I'd say. We're only strumming the 4 strings to get that variation of the major chord. If we strum through the 2nd string, just barring on the 8th fret, that turns it into a major 6. So we just remove the middle finger but still strum all 5 strings, then that makes it a major 6 add 11. The last chord that I'm going to show you is going to be off the 12th fret. So this is the only chord that I'm going to show you that we're not going to bar the just those 2 notes. What we're going to do is first finger on the 12th fret like normal. Instead of barring that 12th fret as well, we're going to take our pinky, or actually our middle finger rather, and we're going to put it on the 13th fret. And then this is going to be a minor variation. So 3 frets over onto the 15th fret, our pinky's going to go on that 4th string. To make it a true minor 6 chord, I'll take my ring finger, put it on the 14th fret of the 3rd string. So the last step is to just take all the ideas, take the chords that I had showed you, and just improvise and come up with some awesome melodic metalcore chord progressions on your own. And if you are a beginner metalcore guitarist, and this is the exact style of guitar that you want to learn, kill switch engage, bullet from a Valentine, 2000s metalcore, this fast, heavy, melodic riffing, that is exactly what I teach in my program, Riff Mechanics. The link is below.